Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Volleycast. I am your host, Joe Trinzi, and on the other line, it's not Deana, it's Deana Jespersen. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing good. Deana is the head coach at Rowan University. And a few episodes ago, we had John Newman-Gonchar, who is the head coach of University of New Mexico, on to talk about how Division I schools kind of has been impacted and from just his perspective on that level, and speculating about NCAA rules and how that's going and when he can expect to see his athletes and all. And we have Deana on to talk about some of her perspectives and what she's going on there. Just a couple quick announcements before we get into it. There is one spot left for our next premium webinar with Chris Thomas. He's talking setting, and he's going to kind of break down his whole approach to teaching setting. That's on Friday, April 3rd, if you're listening to this after the fact. So there's one spot left. So it's possible that when you're listening to this, it's going to go out tomorrow morning, that there may be still a spot left. So you can check on that. Otherwise, our premium webinar after that we have going on for April 11th is with Alfie Reft, associate head coach at University of San Diego, former national team libero, and he's breaking down and teaching defense on that webinar. So that's going to be a really good one. I have done 2 live clinics with Alfie, kind of in person, and I've worked with him before. He's an awesome teacher of the skills. He's got a great grasp of these, and so excited to have him on a webinar. So if you want to check out either of those, you can go on scoutvb.com and go in the shop and check them out. But for now, we'll get into the podcast. We've been trying to keep these kind of short, under 30 minutes, just kind of brainstorming with different coaches about what they're doing right now when we can't be in the gym like we'd like to. So, Deana, what are you doing with yourself these days?
Well, it's crazy because this would be our non-traditional season right now. Would have started on the 23rd of March. So this has been a little bit of a learning curve, trying to figure out how to stay connected and engage the athletes during this time. So we are doing a little bit of this, the Zoom, thank God for a digital world, I guess.
Totally.
We've been meeting through, we use WebEx as well as Zoom to kind of meet and talk as a team, trying to come up with creative ways to stay connected. So
what's WebEx? Is that a different chat platform?
Yep, it's very similar to Zoom. Rowan University, because everything is online right now for our professors as well as our staff members, everybody is working essentially from home. They provided us with the WebEx as a tool for us, professionally. So we've been using that. It's very similar to Zoom, but with Zoom, I think you had to sign up for an account to get more than 40 minutes. So WebEx was offered through the university to connect with our staff. And
nice, yeah, that's good. You kind of have that free tool. And Zoom, they keep it to 40 minutes, but when I was first trying out the free trial, and you hit the 40-minute mark, they'll kind of do this we automatically extended courtesy, they're kind of a little bit there, I guess. But okay, so they're kind of comparable. Can you make a sweet background like this on WebEx?
I am not sure. I actually literally just started using it this week, so I'm not sure. But on Zoom, I've been watching my daughter try to get a beach background.
Oh yeah, you can put the beach or the
As she's talking with her fourth grader friends. Yeah,
that's that. Yeah, fourth grade. She probably knows how to use it better than any of us.
She does. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
Awesome. What I'm wondering is, have you gotten any guidance from administration or compliance about how any of these count as in your hours with it's not the same hour, that for example, Division I countable hours, but it's still, you have restrictions, and how are they counting that? Is it going to go for the summer,
Yeah, I've been, in contact with our compliance officer, who happens to be my sports supervisor as well, because I wasn't sure what I was allowed to do. Being that right now we would be in 5 weeks of practices 3 days a week, what I've done is I've actually utilized the exact same times that we would be practicing for our web conference calls.
Nice.
One, because the girls are still taking online classes, so their days are still right now kind of full. They're getting online in a Zoom or something at 8 a.m. So I didn't want to add more stress, because right now I think there's a lot of stress in trying to manage online classes if that's a mode that you're not used to. So our practices are 2 to 3:15, let's say, for the outside hitters and DSs. So I've just been using that exact practice time to get into a small group. What you call a small group situation online to discuss different things. And the same thing with my middle hitters and setter at that 3:30 time slot, which compliance has told me will be completely fine because it's still part of my non-traditional season.
Do you have All-Americans, or do you have any international kids?
I have they're all American based. Yeah, I have, we're in New Jersey, we're a state school. However, I do have a girl from Texas on my team, which is a little bit different too, because she's waking up and doing an online class at 5 a.m. because of the time difference. Because she's actually in Vegas right now with her father. So she's had to, this is kind of even a kind of an odd adjustment for her. But most of my girls are Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, and then she's Texas.
Okay, yeah. I like what you were saying about keeping a consistent schedule. I think that's one thing that kind of is important, as especially at the collegiate level, because like you said, they are still in class,
right,
and their class schedule is still going on. So I think that one of the, I don't know, possibly like downsides, maybe some people are experiencing that with a work from home environment right now, is like, you don't want the digital tool to feel like it's 24/7.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I like that. I really like that idea of keeping the same practice schedule, and now you're just moving them online. And that, I don't know, that feels like that provides like that sense of normalcy. It's like, okay, my classes went online and my practices went online, and it's still going to kind of be at the same time, still the same times when I was expected, and now lets them plan for that.
Yeah, I've been trying to be mindful of that, and I also have, the other thing I'm trying to be mindful of is I have a huge group of freshmen. I brought in 7 freshmen this year. So I've been super concerned about their experience. I mean, they haven't made it through a full school year, essentially. They're my largest group. They're going to dictate my future, the program's future and culture. And they're not going to experience this spring season, nor are they going to experience actually what a spring session at college will be like. So I've been trying to manage that in the back of my mind as well, that, maybe your upperclassmen have gone through what your season would look like in the spring, and what kinds of things we accomplish, what kinds of things we do, and how that plays a part in the larger picture for your program. But my largest group, I have 7 freshmen and 6 upperclassmen. My largest group is going to have a very different first year experience. And I wonder how that kind of changes their perspective going through. So structure has been really important for me.
Yeah, I think that some coaches might be worried a little bit about, like, just player, for lack of a better term, like player retention, whether it's academic eligibility. We had Ben Josephson from Trinity Western in Canada. He was talking about his concern right now is keeping his guys eligible so they can come back next year. And, we're just worried about players going to transfer home, especially if you have kids from out of the area. And, like, are you doing anything different from that, just in terms of like trying to keep in touch with players, or like you have captains keeping in touch? Because like you said, if you have that many freshmen, you haven't even had that long of a time to develop the relationship. I mean, what you have through the recruiting process and then through one fall, but that first spring for a lot of freshmen is where you really get to know them sometimes more. It's a more relaxed environment.
Sure. I'm pretty blessed in that my culture is for our team is we're a very tight-knit group. So, and my girls are constantly in and out of my office. So I will say that I've formed pretty good relationships with my freshmen this year. And I think the harder part now is just being apart from them. But we're a little bit more of a fun team in a lot of ways. We think outside the box. So one of the things that we are definitely doing is on Fridays during that time period where we would be having a practice as a full team, we're going to use that time to maybe do like trivia or Quizzo or virtual scavenger hunts or some sort of like Jeopardy, I don't know, some sort of game on those Fridays, so that it's not all just, because that's how we would be in season. We do fun things as well as grind. So we are trying to be creative with that. And I am still meeting with my captains the same way. Again, I want to see their faces. We do a lot face to face. We're one of those teams that are kind of in each other's face a lot, which is a good thing. We function, I recruit kids that, are good with interpersonal relationships and that kind of thing. So
that's awesome. What are your captains like? What's the schedule like for that right now? Like your captains meetings and all?
So we're trying to be mindful of their time, because they're also going to be on 2 other phone calls a week, the larger group and then the smaller group. So right now we're just meeting once a week for like a half hour just to kind of have a touch base. My captains and I talk a lot though through text and phone calls and FaceTime as well. I feel like they're this class of captains, it's my rising seniors, really came in at a time when we were changing the culture. So right from the get-go, we had really good relationships. So luckily as seniors, I think they know how to model that, and they're reaching out a ton to the girls. We're doing a lot of fun things on Instagram and trying to get the girls to create videos for recruits. I've had them on recruit Zoom calls to kind of meet with recruits that way, to talk about what their experience has been like. So I'm trying to engage them in different ways versus just saying, what are you doing today? You know, those kinds of things, get them to think about the program and all the things, all the moving parts as well.
Yeah, that's huge. Speaking of recruiting, I can never keep all the recruiting rules straight between the different divisions.
Yeah.
Like what if any like restrictions do you guys have in place, or you're able to still communicate with your recruits?
Yeah, we don't have that dead period, as far as I know from anything that I've been told, that D1 and D2 are having to go on. So right now, you know, we can't have them on campus, obviously, because everything is shut down. So I've been sending a lot of virtual tour links to recruits, and then asking for a follow-up conference call with them so that we can at least try to have a face-to-face. I mean, right now we're not able to evaluate them the way we would, but we can at least try to get to know them. I mean, that's half the battle, is making sure they're a good fit for your program too. So try to be creative with getting different players on that call with me so that they can ask things from a student athlete perspective, so that when they do start to make their visits, maybe we'll at least be at one of the schools they're going to want to visit, because their window is going to be way smaller. You know, this is the time, you know, juniors are, you know, for Division III, they're really looking at schools right now and hoping to get all their visits done and maybe get into their senior year knowing where they're going. I feel like that's all going to get pushed back differently.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in a way though an opportunity then for Division III schools, if you have a little less restrictions in terms of your ability to communicate with players right now. You know, you have those players that are sort of in between Division II, Division III, you know, something like that. And maybe that's just an opportunity for some Division III coaches to be able to have a little more contact than they normally would.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and utilizing that time to get to know them would be great.
And what are you expecting to, you know, like, I was talking to John Newman and he's saying, okay, we're going and planning like we might have our summer camps and we might be able to run them, but he's also preparing if he doesn't see his players till the fall. Like, are you taking it the same way, or how are you handling it? Or
absolutely. You know, our camp, we had an ID camp that was already canceled. Right now, everything on campus is canceled through June 30th for us.
You guys are in New Jersey, which I think is taken a little more aggressive in some areas of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is up through June 30th is canceled. Graduation was moved to July. So July is the soonest that the campus is anticipating that they'll be open, which is when our summer camp is typically held. So I haven't quite wrapped my brain. I actually listened to your podcast with him, and he was talking about having kids register but not pay for the camp, which is an idea. I was like, oh, maybe I could do something along those lines just to see what kind of interest, because we, you know, that one, it's a fundraising opportunity for us, and it's also a recruitment tool for us, and it's also a way for us, because we run 2 camps, to give back to the local community in South Jersey and have something there for them. So I'm struggling with what to do there, but unfortunately, I feel like it's not going to happen. I feel like this is, you know, the first time I'm going to see them, I think, is August, if not September. Because I mean, right now the projections are all over the place as to when we're going to get out of this, and we may run. You know, I'm wondering if it's even going to affect our season in a larger way come the fall.
Totally. There's the long-running volley talk thread speculating on how this is going to affect the fall season and all of that. And, you know, I agree with you know, in terms of recruiting or the club end of it. What I've been talking to some clubs that I work with, you know, all over the country and all that, and I've been saying, I don't know about nationals, and if there is going to be some kind of nationals, I don't know about any kind of pre-nationals tournament. I think the odds of having some pre-nationals tournaments in May and June are unlikely. I would be looking maybe to more schedule like matches, because I think that if we see restrictions start to loosen hopefully as the peak starts to subside, or whatever that's going to be, I still think we might see some restrictions on gatherings of 500 people, 200. I mean, nationals is tens of thousands of
Right.
people. But even a typical kind of summer camp where you might have a couple of hundred kids or something like that, all considered, might be difficult to run. And, it might be possible to run like a one court thing, if you only have 20 kids, depending on what restrictions are like. So I think people might have to be a little creative about just how they can run things without that many people being in the gym.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah.
So I don't know if camps are going to be able to be run in like waves where 20 kids are going to be from 9 to 11, and then a different 20 kids, those kids have to leave the building, and a different 20 kids or something like that. But people might have to get a little creative about how they run it.
I absolutely agree. I think at this point, I'm looking at already laying out plans for the fall and anticipating that, I don't know if our preseasons will get shortened. I don't know if they'll get longer. I don't, who knows, but I'm definitely planning on the fact that maybe the next time we're all together is going to be, late August at this point. So,
yeah. Has there been any speculation that you've heard through administration or anything about talks of moving like championship dates later? Have you heard anything about like that? Because that's something I've been wondering if we'll see that.
I haven't heard anything like from my administration, but I have heard, I've heard like just in general volleyball world talk, people speculating about whether or not, will they extend our preseasons longer because now everybody's going to have missing all that, because of injury prevention and all those kinds of things.
Totally.
They're not going to be conditioned as well. And so do you add time? Does the NCAA allow them, extra time? But again, you're talking about a virus that we have no idea what the course is. So who knows how that's going to play out. And then the other thing the administration just has talked about is just, budgeting and money loss. I mean, does that mean that, are we going to have the ability to travel and have game schedules the way that you want to? Because, right now, colleges are giving back tuition for housing, right? So, you think of the amount of money there, and the NCAA is canceling March Madness and, the trickle down effect of that, especially even down to D3 with budgets and what kind of money for travel for the NCAA when they reimburse at the end of that. Like all of that's going to have, I think, major implications later on that we're probably not even thinking of yet.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if you have a California road trip scheduled for the preseason, but it might be a more difficult one. And
yeah.
And like you said, with like the level of conditioning, like detraining going on, I wonder about schools. It's actually something we're seeing it happen more on the Division I programs, certainly. And I've been talking and encouraging every Division I coach that I talk to do this. Is I wonder why any of you still play 2 matches in one day in your preseason, and why you don't just go to these 1 days. And you've seen some schools even do like the home and home, play on a Friday and a Sunday, something like that. And I don't know, are you thinking about changing some of your schedule, or are you just trying to wait to see how things play out before you start looking into that?
Well, it's funny that you brought that up, because it was a conversation that myself and a few colleagues have been having over the past couple of years, without having to do with the virus and conditioning and stuff, is that I've just noticed lately in the past couple of years, playing Division III plays a lot of tournaments.
Yeah, exactly.
We play like 4 matches in a weekend, and by like the third one, I'm like, wow, your athletes are beat up. And if you're playing in a back-to-back, so you're playing 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. on a Friday, and then 11 and 1 on a Saturday, I'm not really sure that is best for the athletes. Not at the pace and intensity at which they're playing matches anymore.
Yes.
I think the game has evolved differently, and I think
players are bigger than they used to. They're more physical than they used to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's so ironic, I guess, that just in this past year when I was doing my scheduling, I actually typically plan a lot of tournaments, and this year my schedule, I got away from that a little bit, and I'm playing more tri-match situations. So we're still playing 2 matches on a Saturday, but we're not playing Friday, Saturday. And this is the first year of actually doing it. We play like in a quad, and then I think we host a quad, and then everything else on the schedule, I got away from big weekend tournaments. I just found the girls they have so many overuse injuries when they come in at Division III. A lot of the girls now have been playing since 4th and 5th grade, and
totally.
And sometimes only playing volleyball. They're not playing multiple sports. So I'm curious to see how that. Now it'll be weird, because I'm not really sure the effect is going to be, because they're out of shape. Yeah. It was a good call, or if it was a good call just in general. But that was something that I had already done. We actually didn't even schedule. I think we get 22 dates. I think I scheduled 19, so we went 3 dates less. some of that is budget reasons as well, but I'll be curious to see if that helps us in the long run stay healthy and manage. But I think especially if you're not conditioned, you're losing the whole spring season and non-traditional, and they're not lifting, and they don't have access to gyms right now. So everything that they do is in their basement at home. I'll be curious to see what kind of shape everybody is in,
Totally. I think that's a good call with the schedule. And I think that's one of the, just looking long term, I think that's one of the biggest things that collegiate coaches should be thinking about right now is how their players can be in shape. And I don't say that in the sense of like, oh, we got to get these players running sprints right now and all that.
I agree.
Just like how the players are going to be conditioned to come back, because everybody's going to be so gung-ho when we get back in the gym.
Yeah,
it's like we're going to need some like football, they have these rules now in preseason football. You have to have a certain amount of practices without pads or something like that to start, a lot of two-a-days or things like that. And I think that volleyball coaches need to be thinking about how they can give a few days to ramp up the intensity, or else we're going to come back and be so fired up and just nosedive.
No, I agree. 100%. I agree. We're lucky too, because we have really great athletic trainers that work with us too. And even like right now, any of our girls that have been in treatment or getting rehab, they've been sending them at-home programs to continue that treatment and emailing them and in contact. So, we're blessed that way. I don't know how many other programs, have their trainers working hand in hand with them like that, but that at least is good for some of that rehab stuff that they need to be doing too.
Nice. Well, we're coming up on time, and want to be respectful of your time as well. So keeping the idea of the consistent schedule, which I really liked. But thanks for sharing your thoughts. And if anybody, I don't know, wants to reach out to you on social media or get in touch, is there,
Sure.
do you using any of that or?
Well, yeah, my email is Jespersen, all E's, at rowan.edu. And obviously I'm D Jespersen on social media, or Rowan Volleyball.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for coming on, Deana, and
thank you.
keep up the good work there.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.